Here.
Dumont.
Here.
Hernandez.
Here.
Harder.
Here.
Durkee.
Here.
Keel.
Here.
Leonard.
Here.
Lockwood.
Here.
McCallum.
Here.
Knight.
Here.
Pilling.
Here.
Seekman.
Here.
Tome.
Here.
Twing.
Here.
Weed. Winter.
Here.
Have quorum.
Fantastic. I sent out an agenda. Anybody look at it? If you did look at it, were there any concerns or questions? We have one change. We have an open forecast that was not on the agenda, but now has been added. Okay. No, we're good. We're just going to approve the first two things here by unanimous consent. I'm not going to roll call you guys again like I did last year. So unanimous consent for agenda.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Passes. Minutes were attached to that. I assume that there, other people that looked at the minutes, there are no questions or concerns. We pass them by unanimous consent.
Yes.
Louder.
Aye.
Great. Okay. Open for guests. You can go. Yes.
Me first? Okay.
Yes.
I'm Becky Javinar. I'm your wellness coordinator up at the King Center. I received a request at the beginning of this week from Fire Station 1. They are the fire station. If you cross the one-way going this way, right on the one-way going west, right there, that's under construction right now. And they are to the point in their construction process where they no longer have a facility to work out in, and they do 24-hour shifts. And so they are required to work out during shift, and they have requested to use our facility. Currently, the request stands for 4 weeks, is what the construction company is telling them. Over the years of experience doing this, I would say the request should probably be 4 to 6 weeks, because you're depending on weather and all of the other things to go well for them. So they're just requesting to use our wellness center. There'll never be more than 8 guys from the fire station between the hours of 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. And so they would actually have to come in at least one fire truck, one ambulance, and one response truck, because they are actually on call. So if they receive a call when they're in our facility, they will have to leave in response. I met with campus security and safety this afternoon to come up with a parking plan. If you folks approve their ability to access our facility between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. Over the next 4 to 6 weeks. So, and Lance did come over and take a tour after his request. I invited him over to make sure he understood what we have to offer and what we don't have to offer. If they need something we don't have, I just wanted to make sure that was clear. We are the closest facility to them. The next real facility would either be 605 Thread or the YMCA. I used to be the health and wellness director at the YMCA here in Rapid, and I asked them to go ahead and put out the request to those 2 organizations as a backup plan if for some reason the request was denied by Student Senate. I would say that there are 0 places for them to park at either one of those facilities. If you've ever been downtown, there is literally no parking plan over there. So making ours probably the best place for them, but and he was very impressed with your facility, so he said it would work. So I don't know if there's any questions or how this works. I've never been part of any of your meetings, so yes.
What was the parking plan that we came up with?
Yeah, so our parking plan that we came up with, as you guys all know, there's an emergency parking area right in front of the south entrance of the King Center up on the 3rd floor. After listening to what Lance said and when he came over here, a fire truck, an ambulance, and a response truck aren't going to fit in this area right in front of our King Center. So if you were walking out of the King Center into the parking lot facing the grass field, that would be that pull-in right to the right where like a lot of maintenance vehicles pull in. That isn't going to be enough room for all of them. And so Doug, myself, and Kathy approved that if whatever couldn't fit in front of the facility, that they would be able to use the highlighted area, but they would need to come in from University Loop heading west, and they could park along the shoulder area here while they're here, so they would be able to respond to emergencies if needed.
So would you say that that affects student parking in any way? Cause I know there's a bit of a squeeze on that.
They're not parking in any student
Okay.
parking.
Just to be clear, that's on that road, right out.
It is on the road. Yeah, it's on the shoulder.
Was student safety okay with that blockage of the road?
They're the ones who came up with it. This map came from them. I literally was like, if Doug himself, right? So, he actually suggested the parking right in front of the facility first, and there's just no way that minimum of those 3 vehicles are gonna fit in there. So, I mean, if you guys have ever seen fire trucks, I mean, that might take up that space, so having those other 2 vehicles have a plan, so.
And would this be just Monday through Friday, 8 to 10, or Sunday through Saturday, 8 to 10?
If they come on the weekends, it has to be during our already operating hours, which is 9 to 5, Saturday and Sunday. And so if they choose to, it would just be in that morning hour. They have to be back in their facility by 10, is what I was told. We don't have the budget to operate outside of our already budgeted hours, so, yes.
Just in terms of, I know that that's already kind of a tight space, and I know that in the morning, that's when the ROTC group and other groups like that tend to use that space. Is that going to conflict with them at all?
ROTC comes in at 8 or at 6 a.m.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure that.
ROTC up through last year, I have seen or ran into guys in uniform working out after 8 o'clock in the morning, but ROTC themselves, from my understanding, practice at 6. And when I was running to make sure like their scan cards were working last year, they were checking between 6 and 6:05.
Okay.
And so they should be long gone by then.
And then also, correct me if I'm wrong, but in my impression of like the wellness center, that's usually a pretty dead time for students.
So I went back and tried to pull statistics.
Yeah.
The hard part is right now is that our statistics are completely skewed from last year. I would venture to guess because of our equipment and the changes that we've made, we've been averaging just under 300 check-ins a day right now. But I only have a 1 week of statistics, right? Like we've only been open a week. So I come in between 8 and 8:15, and I would say we're less than 10 people during that time. So actually their request fits in for what I'm seeing going on.
Yeah.
Now, what continues to go on, you know, all the students are trying to find their groove right now. So I would say that that's probably a very good time for us. So that if our facility, and I did make it very clear with them that if they didn't feel like they could get what they needed done in that area, you know, there's the aerobics room, which I gave him a tour of, and the Fraser gym. So if something isn't available, we can work together to find a space where everybody can be happy and that they're not involving our students. So, any other questions? I mean, my recommendation is this is the firehouse that would respond to anything here on campus, just so you're very clear. So if they're already sitting here during our time and we need them, they're sitting here, so that's great. It is a great community opportunity for us. And to get those guys in our facility, it is the nicest in the area for sure. I don't see it being an issue. They are very respectful people. They've already agreed and made it very clear they have to sign the release waivers that everybody else does, and that's in clear for safety also.
And this is nothing that we have to vote on
Yeah.
formally. It was just nice gesture. General activity fee pays for the wellness center. So wanted to make sure that you guys were included, had the opportunity to give any feedback or raise questions.
Concerns, questions, comments, concerns on it.
And all in all, I highly doubt 8 people
Yeah.
are just going to really throw a wrench in the operation. Yeah.
And it's a max of 8, he said. Sometimes some of those guys have to stay back here and there, so yeah. I mean, if it becomes an issue, I have zero problem walking into any of them and making sure that they're respecting your equipment and all of that stuff. That is,
Okay, well, thank you very much.
so am I good now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Will I get a response back? I'm so sorry.
No.
I think it's pretty clear that the students in it doesn't have any qualms with them doing that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
communicate that, and if we need to, I'll send out a campus-wide email, making, just so people don't panic that there's emergency vehicles parked in front of the
Yeah.
meeting center when we, go ahead
Yes.
and say,
You should
yeah.
definitely do that.
Yeah, yes, I will, there's no emergencies yet, so. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Whoever you send it.
I know, I mean, you never know, right? Thank you.
Bye.
Great, that was fun. We don't have any unfinished business, but we do have new business. We have standing committee appointments. We're not gonna vote on this today. We're gonna have a week, for people to voice their questions, concerns, and desires, to get on a different committee. It'll be hard because, not everybody can get exactly what they want, but that's just a precursor. So we're not gonna vote on this today. Kessinger Lewis Resolution Number 23 Act 001, 30th of August 2023, originated by myself and VP Lewis, presented by myself. Whereas with the inauguration of a new executive branch and the affirmation of a new Senate being complete, standing committee positions need to be appointed, and whereas it has been determined that the Constitution Committee should be comprised of Senators Weed, Yerke, Alarafe, Hilling, and whereas it has been determined that the Finance Committee should be comprised of CFO and Rulers, and Senators Harder, Tome, Lockwood, Fernandez, and whereas it has been determined that the GR Committee should be comprised of Senators Archer, Leonard, Nate, and whereas it has been determined that the PR Committee should be comprised of Senators Siegman, Kent, Cooley, and Cool. Did I say that right? Keel. I apologize. Whereas it has been determined that the SA Committee should be comprised of Senators McCollum, Winter, Dumont, Twing, and noting that Senators Wee, Archer, Siegman, and McCollum shall act as chairs of their respective committees. Also noting freshmen will be elected in the fall. They'd be appointing committees after their election. Therefore, be resolved by a majority vote of the Student Senate and the signature of the SA President that the appointment of the standing committees be certified.
So I'll go ahead and make a couple comments on this. First of all, some of you may notice that Senator Cooley is not in the room with us. She had a class conflict this semester and is not going to be a senator. So it's something we'll discuss during open discussion, but so that is the first part. Andy Cooley will not be appointed to any committee and will not be a senator. And then on top of that, like President Kessinger said, this is also subject to change with discussion with committee chairs. So take a look at who your committee chair is on there, and if you're not happy with your position, make sure to voice it to your committee chair. That way they can make a note of it and discuss it at our board meeting. So are there any questions in general about this? Senator Lockwood.
This isn't a question about the main committees, but are the subcommittees being decided later, or have they?
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
Great thought though. Yes, we're getting there.
Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? Fantastic.
Okay, great.
We'll go ahead and discuss this at e-board, and we'll actually go ahead and certify it next week.
Yes. I guess we're just going to move on to open discussion then. Like we said, we have two issues with, I guess, current people on the roster. One is Cooley. We're going to have to appoint a new senior senator for that. In addition to that, Alarafe's football schedule has changed from what he thought it would be, and as much as we love him, he probably won't be available for the majority of meetings this semester. He had the most votes in his entire class. It's really unfortunate that we're not going to be able to have him in attendance. I wanted to raise the idea of having a semester-long proxy for him so that he could come back next, in the spring and serve. But it's completely up to you guys. It'll probably be a little complex dealing with it on the Constitution side, but it seems like a good idea to me. But if everybody isn't okay with it, we can totally go from there.
Is that something that he brought towards you?
So he mentioned to me that he would probably have to step down, and I think that he's super positive for us, great connections to the community. So I came up with this. So yeah.
Is that an option for Senator Cooley too, if it's just a semester-long conflict that she has, or?
Amanda Cooley expressed interest in not being a member of Student Senate.
So did you tell Alarafe this was an option?
Yeah, so I've discussed it, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have. But I didn't say that hey, if it turns out no, it's the Senate's fault. I didn't say that, just so you guys know. I voted it purely as my own idea, and subject, of course, to Constitution finagling.
What would be like the process of finding a proxy?
So we probably would just have to reappoint a proxy and waive the points added for him having a proxy. That would probably just be it every single week. Yeah.
Or we could create one permanent proxy on a resolution to allow
Yeah.
for him, so that we can save time each week on
Yeah.
doing a vote, so.
But it would require him not accumulating enough points to be kicked off of that. Yeah.
Would he find a proxy, or would it be voted upon by the student body?
We could, well, I'll say this, we could discuss with, I guess, first, and most important question is, are we opposed to this idea in general? If we are, then I don't know if it's worth it to dig too deep into this, but if we're open to it, we can start digging.
I have a question. So is it going to be a semester-long proxy and then he would come back, or is it going to be on and off?
The idea is it would be a semester-long proxy for, that way it would be fluid for one semester, we wouldn't have, weirdness with a new person each week.
So if we write this in, is this something that can happen every semester?
In theory, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see it as a bad idea.
Yeah, no, in theory, yeah.
We could definitely use more athletes on this.
And if somebody goes on co-op or
Exactly. Yeah. It doesn't seem awful to me. It could be a slippery slope, but it entirely depends on how we write it and handle it, I guess. Please.
I'm not saying like it's a whole like it kind of sounds kind of absurd to me having like someone be a replacement for a whole semester when we re-elect like 2 months in the next semester. So I just don't see the point in doing it rather than just re-electing a whole nother semester.
Okay.
I feel like it defeats the point of being on Senate if you can't make it every meeting, so.
That's just
Okay. Cool. Points noted.
With that being said, I do feel like there are enough athletes on this Senate. So if this is something we can do to help that, I don't know.
I mean, if they're elected early, but your first meeting until like midway through April, so I mean, you would still be from January to April, so it's still like 3.5, 4 months. So it's about the same as a month like the fall semester.
Any new ideas that haven't been mentioned yet?
So, President Kissinger, I don't know how Senator Alarape thinks about this, but Director Headley and I would certainly be willing to, with his approval, talk to Coach and say, hey, is it possible that we can have Senator Alarape for an hour and 15 minutes in the meeting? I don't think that's unreasonable, especially on a campus where I constantly hear, hey, we want more students to be excited about athletics. We want students to come to events. It's got to go both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll just further on that point, I would like improve student senate and athlete relations, because it's like a lot of athletes don't feel like they get a lot of representation, so it's a possibility.
Well, then I guess we'll table this for right now, and we'll see what we can come up with to try to satiate every single person who commented on this. Everybody who wants in here, and everybody who thinks that there is a slippery slope with changing the rules for one person. So, yeah. I think we're good on that one. You want to overview?
Yeah, so this was something we discussed in our pre-Senate meeting, that it's been a summer, and that especially for some of our new senators, we may not all know one another, so we were thinking about doing just a quick introduction. This doesn't need to take forever, but if you were just wanting, we'll just go in a circle around the room and you can just say your name, your major, and something notable that you did over the summer, and we can just do a quick rundown. That way everyone gets familiar quickly with everyone once again before we do our after Senate meeting event that we typically do once a semester, where we play the rotating chair game. So
Before that, we actually have a great guest that I think will be here for the entire year, maybe. Fall. Just the fall semester. Will you please introduce yourself?
Yes.
Yeah.
So my name is Maddie. I am interning with Dr. Joe this semester. I'm a graduate student at the SDSU University Center campus here at PH, doing my master's degree in student affairs. So I'm just here to get experience in student affairs.
Does anyone have any questions for Maddie? Fantastic. Thank
She
you.
graduates in December, that's why.
Yeah.
It's not that she doesn't want to hang out with you guys.
Did she get a little mentor?
Yeah. For sure. We'll start on this side and just rip through.
Hi, I'm Sam Twain, Senator Sam Twain. I'm a civil environmental, and this summer I interned at AE2S as a water resources engineer.
Hello, I'm Senator Doug Twain. I'm a civil environmental engineer, and I interned with Simon Construction here at Rapid.
I'm Caden Yerke, I'm an IE, and I interned from Northern Minnesota, Marvin Windows and Doors.
Hey, I'm Senator Josh Naik. I'm a mechanical engineer and I interned with Bobcats.
I'm Nevan Fernandez. I'm a computer science major, and I interned at Microsoft and the Xbox team as a software engineer.
Calvin Tom, I'm a PhD civil. I worked with the Department of Defense as a consultant.
I'm Patrick Winter. I'm an electrical engineering major, and I worked at Collins Aerospace in Jamestown, North Dakota as an electrical engineer.
Nathan Archer, I'm a junior senator in mechanical engineering. This summer I worked at Army Corps of Engineers and also with Air Force Base.
I'm Will Keel, sophomore senator, civil engineer. I didn't have a job and I went to Europe.
I'm Nicholas Lockwood. I'm a sophomore student senator. I'm a chemical engineering and chemistry major, and I'm currently thinking of doing research with Dr. Philip Bopa.
I'm Maddie Seekman. I'm a junior senator majoring in BME, and I worked a lot this summer.
I'm Ryan Kantz. I'm the non-traditional senator. I'm a physics major, and I worked at the Sanford Underground Research Facility in Lead over the summer.
I'm Jordan Carter. I'm a senior senator, and I'm a math major here at Mines. And I interned at a small accounting firm in Hermosa this summer.
I'm Eliza McLeod. I'm a senior senator. I worked at DX Civil Construction in 2000.
Hi, I'm Jordan Laird. I'm a sophomore senator. I'm an electrical engineering and computer science majors, and I got to travel to both New York and Texas this summer for work.
Hi everyone, I'm Brady Dumont. I'm going to my third year here as a mining engineer, and this summer I worked in Dallas, Texas, which was fantastic.
Hi, I'm Abigail Van Miller. I'm the CFO. I'm a senior and I work in Rock Springs, Wyoming over the summer.
My name's Ben Lewis. I'm the Vice President of Student Senate, and I interned for a Deep Foundations company this summer. Oh, I'm a senior civil engineering student.
My name's Sam Kessinger. I'm a PhD student, which means I didn't work really for anybody this summer. I just kind of stayed here in the basement over at MI doing research.
Yeah. I'm Ed Garcia. I'm a secretary. I interned at the City of Rapid City, primarily with the GIS division. I am a fourth-year computer engineering major. Jordan Lucas, Dean of Students. I was here all summer, and I potty trained a toddler this summer.
Corey Henley, Director of Student Engagement. I also did not intern. I was fully employed by the University of
No.
Should have to that.
Potty trained a toddler?
I did not have
He said, well, it's not that.
He said, I could tell when he was stressed. I was like,
Do we have anything there that we want to talk about for open discussion?
Is there anything that any of us need to do to get freshman elections underway? I was just wondering about that.
That's a DM block, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have our guests. Say hello.
You guys want to introduce yourself?
I'm Brandon Singer, freshman year. Undecided what I'm going to, but really here because Calvin over here invited me. He's a pretty cool guy, and I'm very interested in the Senate and leading and getting to know some of you guys. So Thanks for having me.
My name is Asa Swenson. I'm a freshman here. I'm a ME major, and I got invited by him through him. Thank you for having me.
Great job, Calvin. That's okay, if nothing else, then we'll move on to reports and CFO is next.
Okay, so I'm meeting with Dr. Spindle tomorrow to discuss some of the more important finance issues with Senate, and then I will be reaching out to my finance committee people here soon so we can start having meetings and working on those very important issues. And I'm just excited to see you guys all here. Great first meeting.
Any questions for our CFO?
I don't know how much of this happened last year, but I know that all of us got the rundown on why SOAP was messy, but I feel like there's still a lot of confusion amongst the orgs as to what exactly went down. So just as an idea, it might be worth meeting with them sometime and just explaining what went wrong last year and what we're doing to fix it, you know. Not what went wrong last year, but what the issue is.
All of the organizations are required to come to a meeting that I put on every CFO does every year. So that will be incorporated in this.
Yep, great.
Anything else? No? Yeah, Zeke.
Hi everyone, I hope you had a fantastic summer. Sounds like everyone did. The only real thing I have of note to talk to you all about is for the committee chairs. Thank you everyone for responding to one is good that I sent out. It sounds like it's going to be either noon or 1 p.m. on Thursdays. I'm leaning towards noon. Is that alright with all the committee chairs? They have already board meetings. I see none opposed, so let's plan on doing that tomorrow for our first one. That way we can sort out any changes that need to happen. We'll have it in the Senate office if you're able to. I'll make it, which is up in the McKeel room in Upper Surbeck currently, while we're awaiting our new office, and we'll work on all our changes. So, and then we'll be able to have all of our committee appointments sorted out for next week.
12 noon, you said?
Correct. Yes.
When is our new office?
I didn't mean to laugh really. Right now, we're scheduled to move September 18th to the 20th. So here we go.
Where is the new office?
So it'll be in a portion of the old part of the Dean of Students office, and where Shelley was, that space will become.
Sorry, just one clarification. Did you say September or December?
September.
Okay, thank you.
But I hope it's not December.
Currently, we are in the fishbowl meeting room that is McKeel right on the corner, so everyone can see in and say hi to you. So there's no excuse for your constituents not to know you if you're hanging out in the office.
Any other questions? None? Okay, great. I've got 3 topics here for my report. The first one is going to be about office hours and committee meetings. I think we're way more focused on improving access of students to their functional committees than we are on staffing an office full time. It's great to have you guys in there. I think office hours are fantastic for everybody. Even if you just want to study, it's a quiet place to study. So we're not opposed to office hours at all, but we are really trying to have really public committee meetings so that students can just look at the schedule and be like, I have a question about club. I can come to the Constitution meeting that week. Instead of having to filter everything through a senator who's not even on that committee, who then has to talk to somebody else who is on that committee but isn't the chair. I think that a lot of that can be streamlined if we kind of try to get great meeting times for committees, and I think that we're a little more lax on office hours, as long as there's still buy-in from everybody. But that's just a thought going forward. As Lachlan mentioned, we have other, I guess, committees that aren't standing committees. Rebranding is one that has to carry on. This is the last semester rebranding. Pat Rusk will help whoever is on that. If anybody has any interest in finishing off a project and they just want to see something get done, I think rebranding could be your chance to see something get done, so it has to be done. We also have a few other committees that we have to staff, like beautification, I think parking appeals. But I'm really open to any topics or issues on campus that you guys want to just focus on. I feel like the committees would be, our ad hocs would be more valuable if they're not just something you're stuffed into, if it's something you're interested in. So that's another thing. Please email me or DP Lewis about any of those, and we can start trying to get committees that are really, really two big things that I've seen from this week's this month's University Cabinet that I want to mention to you guys. The first one is in relation to how memorials are, purchased by people on campus. In the past, you could purchase a tree or a bench on campus, and there'd be a plaque there next to the tree. I don't know how much it cost in the past, but the new plan is it costs $1,000 for a tree if you want a memorial, and it's going to cost $5,000 for a bench. The benches don't actually cost $5,000, but they've priced it out for repairs in the future. So the goal is, if you want to have a memorial, you pay money, that $5K once, and it would have money to fix that in the future, so it would look that. One thing that's changed, though, the university's not planning on putting names on the tree memorials. I think there was some issue with memorial trees having to be removed for the new MI building in the middle of the quad, which is kind of sad now that I think about it. But yeah, so that's just something that was interesting to me I wanted to share. In addition to that, there's going to be a change on how fees are charged and what those fees are for reserving rooms, and specifically, I think, blocking off parking lots for organizations on campus. There's definitely gonna, it wasn't a done deal, so if anybody is in any groups that feel like they might be subject to this, like Baja, was it?
Yeah. So just real quick, to add that, there are charges to rooms at certain points for students. Yeah. Often that doesn't happen, right? So Stephanie and Susan work in the scheduling office to help, like, okay, what do you really need in this space? And if you're willing to reset a meeting room in Survey, for example, you're not going to get charged those setup fees. Rarely in those ballroom do you get set up. Most of it's if there's a lot of manpower having to set up a space somewhere. So sometimes when esports does some things for a huge event in the gym and it takes a lot of equipment, sometimes there's charges there. The new one that we were talking about earlier is with regards to parking lots being blocked off. We were talking, there's really no free service. It does take manpower to clear a parking lot for an event, right? And so often that time is being spent preventing cars from being towed. So they're out there calling every single person who has a car there, and sometimes that can take 5 to 6 hours before the lot can actually block off. So I think the proposed amount is $60 an hour for parking lot. So that is a change, and as President said, that's going to impact people like Thornhill, for example, that are doing some of those things. So if you hear from constituents, please share that information with Stephanie Lindsley in the scheduling office, and then she will share that with facilities. And they do want student feedback. It is on first reading right now in Cabinet, so we have a month to get that feedback back to Cabinet as well.
So the only fee that's being changed is parking lots?
Really?
Okay.
Yeah, that's an added one.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing that we changed some categories of how things were charged. There used to be a category for sponsored pieces, and then there was a nonprofit. Those categories have been combined, and one of the reasons is we've just had a lot of things that have been sponsored over the years, which doesn't get us the income for those outside groups that we really feel that income should be coming in. So that's a part of that change as well.
Any other questions? The last thing I'll say, this is for committee chairs. I was under the impression that email access was in transition reports. It seems the only one that had that was actually Constitution. So
I have mine.
Was it in your transition report?
I don't know about that, but I had access. I was given access to it.
That's what I mean. So I hope that you guys have been granted access. If you haven't, we can email IT and fix it.
I didn't get a transition.
Okay, we'll get you access to the email. I don't know if we could do anything about the transition report, but we'll get you access to the email. Yeah. Cool. Okay, that's the end of my report. We're gonna have no questions about that last thing. I assume not. Great. So international report.
Yep. So we have some new international students. I'll get the exact numbers soon. And we had international student orientation throughout the new students settled down. And the second point is the Alamo International Center and the Career Center organized a job search strategy session for international students yesterday, since job search is a little different for international students.
Thank you. Any questions about that? None? Okay, veteran report?
No report.
Great. Graduate report?
I saw there's a new grad board.
There is.
Tell your grad students to join it.
Yeah, none of them signed up, so I had to shoot the email at them. Yeah, I have.
So encourage them, because they need to get out of their desk.
We all do. Any questions about graduate students on campus? Non-grad report?
Just wanted to say I'm very excited for another year on Senate. End of report.
Great. No questions to that. Committee reports.
Oh, since Clyde's not here, he's really disappointed that he can't be here.
Okay.
He said there's 4 potential organizations in queue.
We're going to post-date that as the Constitution report. Any questions? None? Okay. PR report?
We're going to be probably working on the pigskin problem like we did last year, and we will finalize the Hard Rocker discount list. That's like almost done, and that's all I got. Unless you guys have anything you'd like to throw at me.
We should meet and discuss Hard Rocker discount. I have some ideas. Any other questions for PR? Great. Government relations.
We're going to start working on elections here pretty soon. I guess Phil for win is good. Or I guess whoever gets my win is good. So,
yeah, Phil Howard is good, everybody.
And yeah, and then I'm also later on I want to get some government officials like representatives and senators to come talk to us a little bit more regularly than last year, I guess. So.
Any questions? None. SA?
Like I said, I didn't do transition for it, so right now I don't really know what I'm supposed to do. But I will figure that out in the next couple weeks. And then Senator B, first we talked about some stuff with like DC law. He's got some good ideas and we'll start working on that.
Fantastic. Any questions? We don't have any ad hocs done yet, so please give me your ideas for the future so that we can have ad hocs, hopefully for this subsection E. Upcoming Senate business, next week we're going to have this same committee, resolution. It's going to pass next week. So please, if you guys want edits, they have to come to somebody up here or a committee chair. If nobody gets your concerns, they won't be heard. Yeah. Okay. Any announcements other than the fact that? Oh, question.
Hang in there, guys. 0.32 years till Christmas.
Freshman elections, I think, are September 27th. I could be wrong. It's the Wednesday after the last Monday of September. So, yeah, just so everybody knows. So that the last day it can be is September 27th. I think it's fine to run it as the last day. So, if anybody asks you, September 27th.
That's the most fun.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to take it. Any other announcements? Great. We have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor of adjourn? We're not in a roll call. Aye. 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 all depends.
Which is